Hey, what's up, dude? It's your friendly neighborhood Meatwad. The podcast you're about to enjoy is part of the LOWTREE Studios podcast network. To enjoy more podcasts like this one, be sure to check out LOWTREEStudios.com. Unless you're Sasquatch, then you, Sasquatch.
Wreck My Podcast!
We cover a cult classic movie this week, Return of the Killer Tomatoes, with some cult followers of ours, the good friends over at the Brew Interviews. They're crazy and zany, just like this movie, which is brought to you by Pepsi.
Wreck My Podcast!
Welcome to the Wreck My Podcast, where this week I have better guests on than normal. It's the Brew Interviews are taking over, and we're talking about Return of the Killer Tomatoes. He's got a fuzzy tomato. It's Robbie.
Yeah, I definitely do.
Yep, I've seen it. I don't want to ever see it again. I don't know why you're sending me your doctor's pictures to my phone.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
She makes the best toast. It's Lauren.
Thank you. I do make really excellent toast.
That's depressing.
Do you have like the
Just ask my girlfriend.
Do you have like the sea of toasters at your house?
Yeah.
Actually, I do. I need to get a new toaster because now it's only toasting one side of my bread.
Oh, that's no
so
good.
I have like half toasted.
You should get like the Darth
bread.
Vader toaster where it like burns Darth
Puts
Vader's
his face on it.
Don't think I didn't think about it. I found a Chewbacca one I was pretty
Ooh.
interested in.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. And I'm your host, Jordan. I don't care what the media says. I don't wear women's underwear. We're here. Okay.
What media?
Yeah.
Are you
the media-
sure?
Fake news over here talking about my women's underwear. So I want to talk about this movie a little bit before we kind of get into all the segments that I typically have, because I was unaware that this was a parody satire movie. I thought this was like a serious movie that just was awful, and people liked it because it was like Sharknado or something.
No.
This is a really
Total
Is
smart.
Sharknado good? Sharknado is not good.
Sharknado's not good, but people like it because it's so bad it's good kind of thing, where you find the comedy
Yeah.
and how bad it is. This movie is very smart. I had no idea.
It knows it's cheap. It knows it's
Yeah.
cheap, and it knows it's doing stupid things. And I love how it's self-aware throughout the whole
Yeah.
thing.
I was gonna say it felt like in the beginning that it was just so bad that it was like good, and I just continue to think that. I think it's just so bad that it's good.
I felt like there were two comparisons when I first started watching. It didn't take long for you to understand what it was either, because they start you off with that like intro thing where it's kind of like Mystery Science Theater 3000, where it's like the secret word and all that. But as you get into it, I started thinking, man, this is a lot like Monty Python. Very much so.
I mean, in the fact that it kind of breaks the fourth wall sometimes.
Yeah,
and-
it's very self-referential,
Yeah.
and I felt like a lot of the jokes were Monty Python-esque too, because like there's even that scene at the end with the gas chamber where like her hand goes on and his hand goes on, and then it
just
goes back and it
keeps
goes
sliding
back.
down.
And I was dying during that.
Oh my god, it's such an underrated movie that people just don't know about.
It's because no one's educated us that this is actually
True.
a comedy and not an awful movie that like people need to know.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I agree with that. Like I went into this thinking that it was just going to be like a B like horror movie, like a like a horror comedy movie, which it kind of is. It's kind of like a scary movie in like type movie in a sense.
Yeah.
Like it's just totally making fun of that terrible type of movie.
Oh yeah,
I thought it was a great movie. I loved
thought
it.
I was fully, after about 10 minutes, I was fully invested and I was super happy. Robbie, you suggested this one and I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to like this, but I love
I never like what Robbie chooses. So
Well, because
I have been
I was going to say, isn't Attack of the Killer Clowns from Outer Space, isn't that one of those movies where it is supposed to be serious, but it's so bad?
No.
Oh, no, it's not either?
No, Attack of the Killer Clowns from Outer Space is kind of along the same wavelength, just a little bit different. Like we said, Return of the Killer Tomatoes is more self-aware, making fun of itself. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes is just a cheap comedy horror. and that's what it was kind of meant to be.
Okay.
It wasn't supposed to be a big budget production kind of thing.
Yeah, that was terrible though.
That's an amazing movie. You should
See, I've never watched it, so it's
You have to watch that.
You should watch
These
it.
are all-
Everyone should watch
yeah,
it.
these are all movies that I feel like are meant for the podcast. So I will get
yes.
to it for sure because I mean, who doesn't want to watch stuff like that for? I mean, if we're watching Butterfly Effect 2, I can watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
It's way better
Also,
than
thank you
Butterfly.
for watching that.
Yeah.
Thank you for
We'll
watching
take one
that
for the
so
team.
I didn't have to.
I
Thank
think
you.
the 4 of us on the podcast were 4 of the 8 people that watched that movie in existence.
I mean, I love the first one, but
Yeah, the first-
it's like the Sandlot. Like, I'm not going to watch the second one. I'm not going to watch the second Grease. Like, there's no point.
Yeah, although
Christmas Story 2.
yeah,
Is that a thing? Does that
Yes,
exist?
did you guys know
Oh,
that there's a
no.
Titanic 2?
Really?
What?
Like Revenge of the
I
Titanic
have
or something?
no idea, but I really
Did it
wanna
like
watch it.
resurrect and then sink again? Like, how did they do this?
This time,
No, it's called Ghost Ship.
well, I'm like, this time the iceberg comes to you on land.
It's like Jurassic Park 2 or the T-Rex goes to the States or
Yeah,
whatever the
it's the
fuck
San
happened in that
Diego
one.
T-Rex. So funny.
Yeah.
So
Oh, no.
we've kind of talked this movie up a little bit, and for those of you that may not know what this movie's all about, we're going to play the trailer real quick because the trailer's really funny too. I love the trailer. And then you guys can see kind of what we're working with here on this movie, and probably go watch it because it's on Amazon Prime right now. So if you
It
who
is.
doesn't have Amazon
Totally
Prime?
free.
Yeah, totally free. I'm sure you,
There are 2 versions of it, though, guys. There's 2 versions
well,
of it.
it was the remastered, I think. I think they had like an
Yes.
HD upgrade in 2007.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't watch that one. I watched the shitty one.
It was still,
It's the same
it was still
movie.
good quality, I thought. It was like...
yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was
yeah.
great.
All right, so let's watch
wrong
this
with it.
trailer, and then we'll talk about the movie a little bit more.
10 years ago, a motion picture became the most notorious cult movie of all time. Predictably, the French called it a masterpiece, the name of this legend of cinema. The Attack of the Killer Tomatoes! Eat me! It was so stupid, so cheap, such a piece of steaming dog flop. You'd think it would have attracted horseflies. Never an audience. Now, get ready to sit on your intelligence once again. They made the sequel, The Return of the Killer Tomatoes. Guess what? It's a lot better. It had to be. As you remember, 10 years ago, mankind was threatened with the greatest red menace of all. Angry, merciless, killer tomatoes. We were only saved thanks to the heroism of a brave handful of untalented actors.
Are you Rob Lowe?
No, they're back.
This time, we shall not fail!
A mad scientist,
My tomatoes can be made to resemble anyone.
together with a yuppie pervert, turn embittered, mean-spirited tomatoes into an army of psychotic, neo-Nazi plant life. And let's not forget the stunning hell-spawned creation who just might put out for the entire planet.
Do you want to make love?
I want.
I also cook 815 international dishes and use all the popular home appliances.
You'll see atrocities beyond belief.
You can't see your feet. Do the words fat cow mean anything to you?
You'll see how producers extracted special favors from certain well-endowed performers. It's got more laughs than Out of Africa. It's gayer than Kiss of the Spider-Woman.
Hello? The girl of my dreams is a vegetable.
See,
You wouldn't believe what she can do with 6 milk bottles and a tuning fork.
the return of the Killer Tomatoes.
It's definitely a learning experience.
All right, so there's the trailer. So I have 2 questions for you guys. Let's start with Robbie. I know you've watched this before, Robbie, because you suggested it, and you say it's one of your must-watches during the Halloween season. But when was the first time you watched this movie?
Return of the Killer Tomatoes has been one of my favorite movies since I first saw it. I mean, back in like 1990, probably like it's like 98, 99 when I first saw it. I got it on DVD for the first time in like 2002 when it came out.
There it
Right
is.
here.
Proof.
My original copy, you know, and I watch it at least 5 times a year. I love this movie so damn much. I love it so much. I also own the VHS version.
Of course you do.
I own the first movie on a special edition, collector's edition with the soundtrack. I'm not done yet. I own the Nintendo Game Boy game, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, and the complete in box NES version of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. If you can see that.
My gosh, that's amazing! I
Yeah.
was half expecting you to have like a Betamax or something too, to be like, and I
don't know if they made a Betamax. They made a Laserdisc version though.
Oh man, that's awesome! That's so cool. So then, Lauren, on the other end, I assume you hadn't seen this movie before now.
I don't watch movies.
Yeah.
I like when you were making. I haven't even seen Monty Python, so when you were making those references, I had absolutely no idea.
Well, if you like this movie, you would like Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I would say.
Everyone tells me that. I just haven't watched
I'd save
it yet.
the Life of Ben? No, what's the one that's like the
Life of Brian?
Life of Brian. That's the Jesus one.
Yeah,
that one I'm not a huge fan of, but Holy Grail I love so much. Yeah,
I'll watch them. I'll watch them one day.
Yeah, you got it. And you know what? This also kind of reminds me of a Mel Brooks film too.
Yes.
I don't know what that is.
Very Spaceballs.
Oh, I like Spaceballs. It's funny.
Yeah.
So that's good. Now, Lauren, what did you think of this movie?
So again, going into it, I expected it to just be like a like B horror film, but it really ended up like you catch on pretty quick that it's it's just totally a spoof on like the first one, but it keeps making all these references to the first one. But Robbie told me I didn't need to watch the first one.
You don't.
In order to get it. And you
really don't.
So, well,
yeah.
I rented the first one and I fell asleep 10 minutes into it. So I got to the part where like the chopper went down and I was out. I was like, oh, that's a repeat scene. I get it. Now I can go to sleep. But I just thought it was great. I love George Clooney, so like just the fact that he's in this movie makes it good for me.
I was blissfully unaware he was a part of this, so when I saw his name pop up on the credits, I was like, "There's no way George Clooney's in this. That's got to be a joke that like George Clooney's in this movie." And then he showed up, and I'm like, "What the heck, George Clooney?"
I think it's his second movie ever.
Well, that makes sense.
I think
that makes a lot of sense.
His first movie, which you should also watch, is called Return to Horror High.
Okay.
Yep.
Which is
I haven't seen it, but I heard about it.
Which is another weird, like spoofy horror movie, but it's also really funny, and I own that on DVD too.
DVD. He has the NES game. He's got the Sega Genesis.
And the Game Boy game. Yep.
Of course. Now, Robbie, what is it about this movie that you like the most? Why is this one of your favorite movies?
I think it started mostly as nostalgia, because the first time I ever watched it was during the fall. Back in our hometown in New Hampshire during Pumpkin Festival, which is a big festival we used to have in our hometown. And I watched it during Pumpkin Festival with some friends, and it just kind of like stuck and it just kind of became tradition. And then, I mean, it's still a fun movie, even if you're not, a horror movie spoof fan or whatever you want to call it.
Anything you do on Pumpkin Fest becomes memory. That's just the magic
so
of
is Pumpkin Fest just like the New England name that all of us call Halloween?
No.
They literally, so we hold the record for like the most lit jack-o'-lanterns on one city street. So it's literally just our entire main street filled with jack-o'-lanterns and people walking around looking at them.
And they're so lit, they're just like getting drunk and partying. Those lit jack-o'-lanterns.
Oh, for sure.
Love it.
That it started some riots once. Yeah. Like we're not going to.
That's actually pretty cool. I'm hoping to get more fun stuff like that now that I live in North Texas.
Riots?
No, not riots. I mean, sure, why not? But I live close to Watts. I know what riots are about. So, no, I mean more fun stuff like jack-o'-lanterns being lit and kind of like the small town feel. Because when you're in Southern California, people are like, I don't want to do anything with you. And they don't have any fun stuff like that. People just go to parties at weird hotels and stuff. So I'm excited to hopefully get...
That doesn't sound safe.
I did that at Pumpkin Festival one year.
Sweet.
Actually, that happens. That's going to happen regardless of where you are.
Okay, yeah. You got to go to the Holiday Inn. That's what you got to do.
Ours was like a little green motor lodge.
It was sketchy.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to talk about some things in this movie real quick here that I thought were pretty funny. One, they had that extensive flashback scene to fill you in on what happened with the first movie that I liked that they made a comment on it. That, I mean, it's funny when you make the joke and then when you comment on the joke, it's even funnier, as you know, when you listen to Kreger. But what I thought was so funny is that Chad Finletter reminded me of Diet Marty McFly.
I mean,
Like the
yeah, I can kind of see that. Like an older, but Marty McFly.
Yeah, he was kind of spastic a little bit, and he did like a lot of the Marty McFly moments and stuff. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yes. Like with the parachute,
Yeah.
when he's trying to get up and hit the button
Yeah,
to stop the
exactly. Well,
clock.
there were so many pratfalls in this movie.
It's so good. It's so good.
That parachute gave me so much anxiety throughout this entire movie. I was just like, take it the fuck off.
Well, that's what's so funny too. Is like, why are you wearing the parachute with the scuba guy too? Like, wearing the scuba
Oh
gear?
my
You got to watch the
God.
first movie because he wears the parachute in the first movie as well.
Oh, it's so amazing. I thought it was funny too. In the first movie, they had a song called "Puberty Love," right? "Puberty Love" that stopped the
Puberty
tomatoes.
Love.
And that reminded me of my first band. Our name was called "Puberty Hit Us Hard,"
Yeah.
and I was like, "Hey,
So
you
creative.
gotta love puberty in these song titles and stuff." Speaking of songs, shout out to who were these? I wrote them down. Shout out to Neil Fox and Rick Patterson for making the best music in a movie I have ever heard. Their songs were the best things ever.
It's like spoofy 80s synth rock. It's this cool combination.
Oh,
It sets the mood really
I
well.
loved it.
I thought it was a great soundtrack.
Great soundtrack. The lyrics were hilarious. It was so
The
good.
intro lyrics are the best.
Yes. Yeah.
Part 2 of only 2 parts.
The theme song still remains the same. The plot itself has hardly changed. A guaranteed bet for fortune and fame.
I love it. I love it so much. And it's such like an 80s film too. They really leaned into
Yes.
the 80s side of it, which is always close to my heart for sure.
Yes.
One joke that was cracking me up, which was such a background joke, was the smorgasbord of sports. Like, when he's
on the
watching the
TV?
TV, it's the smorgasbord of sports.
Yeah.
And that reminded me of like the rural juror from 30 Year Old.
Yeah.
I love it.
Contact Cup yacht racing or whatever.
I love
They were
it.
doing. There was like old pirate shot videos.
Also, when he's watching the TV and he's like, the secret lair, and he's trying to tell him while
Oh my
he's
God.
on the TV.
No, the
In his
laboratory.
basement.
Yes. Don't you get it? It's so good. The one other thing I noticed about this movie is that they spike the camera all the time. Now, what that means is when you're spiking the camera, it's when you look directly into the lens, and you're not supposed to do that. It's a thing that actors accidentally do sometimes. And normally, if they see you do that, they have to cut they don't use that edit or anything. But in this movie, so many times they just like spike the lens, even if it wasn't a fourth wall break, and they'd be spiking the lens all the time.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of funny because people who are in the industry kind of will find the joke in that, kind of like when they had the SAG guy coming out and he's like, "Oh, you spoke, you get $400.
You get paid.
You get paid.
Yeah.
You get paid." So,
Nobody else
I'm
say
speaking.
anything.
I get paid.
yeah, I thought that was funny that like even industry stuff was kind of being spoofed in it
Yeah.
as well.
Oh yeah.
All right, so I'm going to tell the audience a little bit about the movie here, who's in it, when it came out, all that kind of stuff, even though I'm sure Robbie has this tattooed on his back, so he already knows all this stuff. Just the credits.
It's on my thighs, so I can actually read
Yeah,
it.
there you
while
go.
I put it
It's
on my
like
back.
Memento. It's just all over your body
Yeah.
backwards so you can see it in a mirror. All right, so April 22nd, 1988, it came out. Maybe you know this, Robbie. Did it have a theatrical release?
Okay, so movie posters do exist, and I don't own one, but I want one. But so I'm kind of guessing it might have been like a limited release in theaters. 'cause-
According to the movie, that they were selling FT dolls out in the lobby
Yeah.
of wherever they were showing this movie. So obviously it was out.
Yeah,
somewhere.
because IMDb says they made $5 million on this movie, but Box Office Mojo doesn't have any data for this
it's always so low.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Too early. Maybe.
5 million isn't that low. I've seen movies make under $1 million, and it's been on Box Office Mojo.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. So
We just talked about all these movies that made
you
shit
guys
money.
is
like
It wasn't that low.
Box
though.
Office Boom or Bust was great. I was listening to that yesterday, and I really liked it. The filmed in San Diego, California, the whole thing, which is not a bad place to film. It's beautiful out there. So
Yeah.
it's beautiful
if you got
there.
to film a movie, San Diego is a good place to do it. What do you think this has on Rotten Tomatoes?
which is ironic.
I cheated. I know what it is.
Oh, okay. So maybe we won't guess.
I know what the critic score
Yeah.
is. I know what the critic score is.
I've actually never
Okay,
looked.
so let's see, Robbie, if you can guess what the critic and audience score is.
Critic, I want to say 64. It's out of 100, right?
Out of
for
100%,
Rotten Tomatoes?
yeah.
64 for critic and audience, maybe 70, because I feel like a lot of people don't even know about the movie.
Yeah. Okay, so audience is 49.
Oh, them.
It's so low,
And
dude. It's
critic
so low.
is 0.
What?
0%. Which just proves once again that critics don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, they're fucking
Like
idiots.
when they scored Evil Dead 2 so high, I was disappointed. And when they score this so low, I'm disappointed. But they scored Scream perfectly. We covered Scream last week, and they scored that one perfectly. So I won't blame them there. I thought that was so crazy, though, that, like, as a critic, shouldn't you get that this is a B movie making fun of a B movie? Like, I don't like all the critics.
They probably watched 10 minutes of it and they just made that automatic
seriously, because
judgment.
all the critics.
You do have to get past the first 10 minutes, though. I'll give them that.
Well, I mean, even if you knew anything about Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, you knew that was a spoof too, because
Yeah.
I just don't get it. Like, all the critics wrote, "This is an awful B movie." I'm like, but that's the point.
It's his point. Yeah.
You wouldn't.
It was made to be a B movie.
That's like saying Iron Man sucks because it's just a superhero movie. It's not realistic. Like, you know, it is what it is. So John DeBello, is that how you say his name? John DeBello is the writer-director?
Sure.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Okay, so John DeBello wrote and directed all the Tomato-verse movies.
Yeah, the Tomato verse.
Yeah, is that what we're calling it? The expanded Tomato-verse? The ET?
You could call it the RTKTCU.
Is that the
Return of the Killer Tomato Cinematic Universe?
Nice.
There it is.
Love it. He also plays the director in the film too. So when they break away and they show the director, that's him. Which, kudos to him for writing a nice little scene where some half-naked girls get to sit on his lap during a scene.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if you're gonna write a movie and direct it, you might as well give yourself a good part in it too. He had a bunch of friends help him write the script though, and that's true for all the movies. It was like a group of like 3 or 4 of them that wrote all these. So this was just kind of like a fun project they were doing and everything. They kind of blew up into a cult classic. We have Anthony Stark played Chad. Now, he hasn't been in anything like huge, but he's been in,
not that I remember.
Yeah, he's been in a few episodes of bigger shows. Like he was in Suits and Castle and Mad Men, and in 2 episodes of ER, which I assume George Clooney helped him get.
Yeah.
So he
probably
he's been a character actor in some things, but he hasn't really starred in anything but a Return of the Killer Tomatoes.
He's just like randomly in a bunch of 90s and like 80s.
Yeah,
stuff.
pretty much. He's sprinkled. He has a lot of credits. He's just sprinkled throughout all these different things. And then George Clooney plays a character named Matt, who is Chad's best friend. And if you don't know who George Clooney is, go watch an Espresso commercial, because that's what he's known for. No,
or anything on good movies.
Literally anything. That dude. If you don't know who George Clooney is, you haven't been living the past. You're 1 year old. That's why you don't know who George Clooney is. We have
For sure.
John Astin played Professor Gangrene. Now, he's probably the most famous person here because he was...
Gomez Adams.
Yeah, Gomez Adams.
Yep.
In 60s, and I didn't know he came back for the 90s TV version of it. It's so cool. He voiced someone in As Told by Ginger, which is criminally underrated show from...
I love As Told by Ginger.
Yeah, so good. And then he also voiced someone in Recess, in Johnny Bravo. He was in Murder, She Wrote quite a few times as a recurring character. And he played the Riddler in the 60s Batman TV show.
Yeah.
Which is so cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this guy, super famous, so cool. And, okay, did you know that there's Robbie probably knows. There's an Attack of the Killer Tomatoes animated TV show from 1991.
Yes.
And John Astin's the only one who reprised his role, the voice. Now, let me ask you, Robbie, do you own the animated TV show?
I do not. I remember like vaguely watching episode here and there as a kid. Like it would just kind of like pop up on TV, but it was never common enough to actually, get to love the show. I heard the show was not that great, but that's what actually the games are mostly based off of, are the cartoon.
That's so funny.
And there are action figures too.
It's crazy that in the 90s, and probably the 80s too, everything had a TV show. I found out there was a freaking Ferris Bueller TV show. There was a Bill and Ted TV show. Like, everything had a TV show.
Yeah.
So funny. Even the Ghostbusters had an animated TV show.
The real Ghostbusters?
The what?
The real Ghostbusters.
Yeah, the real Ghostbusters, because you had the Ghostbusters
awesome.
with the monkey, and then you had the real Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that was cartoon. Yeah. That was Hanna-Barbera back in the day. That was garbage.
Yeah. So funny. All right, so that playmate who was hooking up with Matt in that one scene, she's actually April 1986 playmate, if you want to go check that out.
Yeah. Well, they post up the calendar, don't they? He like drops it.
They do, but I didn't know if that was just something for the movie or not. So I had to I had to do my research and look it up to make sure.
You went through all the Playboys.
Went through all of them, all the way back to 1986 and found her. She's also in Predator 2 as the, get this, Colombian girl.
Wait, is Predator 2 Concrete Jungle?
It's the one where they go into the city and Donald Glover or it's like, I'm too old for this.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's all the information about the esse. Now, before we jump into the plot, I like to do a little quick rundown of what the movie is for the people listening at home. Jordan explains the movie quickly, if you will. So,
oh boy,
I'm gonna go for this, and then we can talk about the plot of this movie. And I want to get your guys' opinions on some of the scenes in here, and kind of talk about our favorite parts and everything. Oh yes, it's time for Jordan to explain the movie quickly.
Great.
So this is a movie that teaches you that true love can be found in the most unlikely of places, as long as everyone involved in the relationship is attractive and willing to make love and toast. Also, Pepsi will endorse anything. So, so let's get into this movie here. We start off with that introduction where the secret word is "the," which is great because this joke
the time.
Yeah, and the joke doesn't pay off till the end of the movie, which I love.
Yes.
It's so great. But I'm kind of curious, has anyone made a fan-made film called Big Breasted Girls Go to the Beach and Take Their Tops Off?
Isn't that great?
I mean, it's the best part of the whole movie, let's be honest.
I think 3 out of 3 people on this podcast can agree.
I'd watch that now.
Yes, exactly.
Actually, I've just been watching the movie all day to continuously see that scene.
That scene, and then the end scene with George Clooney as the big breasted tomatoes on the beach.
It all comes back. It all comes back.
So good. So tomatoes are outlawed and feared in this one because obviously they had a tomato war in the last movie, which is freaking ridiculous, but also amazing. So Professor Gangrene figures out how to turn tomatoes into humans. I love the Igor thing where he's like a happy guy. He's like, I'm Igor.
Yeah. A news reporter.
Like a news reporter, yeah. Like
so amazing.
Sorry to be a disappointment to you, Master.
I also love, like, it's that joke that a lot of TV shows make now where they kind of talk to the audience and be like, back after these messages or whatever. He does that all the time. So good. One of the professor's tomatoes is Tara, who runs away with her. Was it her brother, Fuzzy Tomato FT?
No, I mean, she just kind of calls him brother because they're both tomatoes.
Okay.
But
okay, I didn't know if they were actually related, if they had the same, if the same juice was running through them or not. I don't know.
Don't say that.
No.
Oh,
okay.
that's.
Don't say juice and siblings.
It's the same juice was running through those siblings. It was great. So Tara finds Chad and seduces him to hide away from Professor Gangrene. Now, would you eat any of those pizzas that they were making at that pizza place?
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Every single one of them.
The anchovies and peanut butter and whatever the fuck was on it.
It was so gross. So gross. Now, do you guys have a place, Pizza Rev, out by you? I don't know how far that goes.
No.
Okay.
I don't even know what that is.
So it's like fast food pizza restaurant. I don't know if you know, like Pizza, Mod Pizza, Pyology, Blaze. None of those?
No.
Okay.
And I lived in California. I don't know
It's probably like a CC's pizza or something.
What it is
like
like it's a Chipotle, but for pizza. You walk up and you tell them like what dough you want, what toppings, what sauce, and then they put it in the oven and they cook it and then bring it to you. So it's like custom made, tiny individual pizzas.
Is it like California Pizza Kitchen, but like more individualized?
Yeah, but more like casual dining than sit down dining.
Yeah.
So at this Pizza Rev, they had a dessert pizza, which was chocolate sauce and I think like Oreo sprinkles and some other cinnamon and stuff like that. Let me tell you, on dough, regular pizza dough, it's disgusting. So I can't imagine that what he was making at this place would be very good.
I like that you're concerned about the dough instead of like the anchovies with chocolate.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
Like that, like I think that your priorities are probably in the wrong place at this point because
Maybe. I don't know. Anchovies and me, we've never had a problem, but dough. I can't handle the dough.
but that dough, I agree, did not look good. I would not have been satisfied with that dough.
Well, he didn't cook it. That was the joke. He just stretched it and then threw on the toppings, and he's like, "All right, your extra boysenberry sauce. Here you go."
And
it goes out.
I want to mention too right now because there's a joke, and this made me laugh the hardest. I laughed the whole movie. Where at the very beginning, I think it's George Clooney is like twirling the dough, and then he throws it up in the air.
Throws it up,
and you think that he's going to move away and then come back and it'll drop, and that'll be the joke that like, oh, it stayed up in the air for a long time. It doesn't drop until the end of the movie, until you've completely forgotten that this joke was even set up, and then it drops, and you're like, oh, there it is.
And they acknowledge it. Don't they acknowledge the fact that the joke comes back?
Dude, so good. I thought that joke was the most clever joke I have like ever seen in a movie. It was great. All right. So Igor finds Tara, and they have the shortest car chase scene ever because it's a low budget movie, obviously. Chad and Matt find out about FT and Tara being tomatoes, and we have the meta moment where they stop production because they've run out of money. So they're like, hey, we got to shut it down. They're like, let's do some product placement. So my question is, have you guys seen Wayne's World?
Yeah.
Not coherently.
Okay. So there's the moment in Wayne's World where they do the same exact joke. And my question is, did Mike Myers just steal this joke from Return of the Killer Tomatoes?
Who knows?
It's the same exact joke, like down to almost the wording is the same exact joke. So that kind of bummed me out a little bit because I thought that was funny in Wayne's World, and I just realized they just ripped it off from someone else, which I'm sure these guys ripped it off from someone else too, but that's just how movies go.
Listen, we need to have a talk about Vanderhoff. The fact is, he's the sponsor, and you signed a contract guaranteeing him certain concessions, one of them being a spot on the show.
Well, that's where I see things just a little differently. Contract or no, I will not bow to any sponsor.
I'm sorry you feel that way, but basically it's the nature of the beast.
Maybe I'm wrong on this one, but for me, the beast doesn't include selling out. Garth, you know what I'm talking about, right?
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
I can't talk about it anymore. It's giving me a headache.
Here, take 2 of these.
Ah, new print. Little, yellow, different.
Look, you can stay here in the big leagues and play by the rules, or you can go back to the farm club in Aurora. It's your choice.
Yes, and it's the choice of a new generation.
And Return of the Killer Tomatoes, scene 32-1, take 5. Marker?
And action.
How you doing?
Just fine.
What can I get for you there?
Well, I'm kind of thirsty. I wonder if you got something I can drink.
Kind of thirsty. I'll tell you, when I'm thirsty, I go out and I get myself a Pepsi-Cola.
Wow, a Pepsi-Cola.
Yeah, you know, it's the choice of a new generation.
Well, groovy, but I'm a little hungry, too.
Kind of hungry, I'll tell you. Well, when I get a little hungry, I go out, I pick myself up a Nestle's Crunch Bar. Yeah, it scrunches when it crunches.
Wow, I'd heard that.
Yeah.
But I'm also, it's so dry.
You're dry.
Hot outside, yeah.
You're parched. Yeah, you need a beer, huh?
I could use a beer.
How about a moose head?
A moose head.
Moose head.
From the north.
From the north, huh? Or a Foster's.
Foster's from the south.
Down under, huh? Good day, mate.
Hey, Ozer.
Hey, Matt. Hey, Chad. How about a Crest?
Yeah, I gotta talk to you now.
Yeah, you need this.
Crest, like tartar control.
Well, when did Wayne's World come out? I don't even
Like
remember
96
what year it was.
or something, or 95.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It was that late, much after?
Oh, it was definitely the 90s because it was the SNL skit and everything before it was the movie.
True.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty funny. Also, what was with the ninjas and cowboys? Did you guys get...
They needed a big fight scene.
not?
That's the only thing that I could think of. I was like, why is there just like a huge fight scene right now?
That's the best.
What's going
so
on?
Weird. It's so weird.
You skip
I think
past
that
one
was
of my
my
favorite
least.
jokes.
That was my least favorite part of the movie.
You skip past one of my favorite jokes is the shortest car chase scene. in a movie when they come to the valet and he's like, mine's the garbage truck, and the valet brings the garbage truck and he goes, that's not mine.
Yes.
It's like because there's another garbage truck parked at the restaurant.
That is a great joke. I do love that. So
so stupid.
The thing is this movie, like literally every 30 seconds is a joke, so it's hard to fit them all in because it's just boom, 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 boom.
It's good.
It's so good. So Chad follows Igor to find the professor and his plan he's cooking up, if you will. Igor steals Tara back, and Chad has to go get Tara at the professor's, and there's this whole thing about he thinks she's already back into a tomato, and then he thinks that the professor squeezes the tomato that's her, but then when they get captured and go in the dungeon, she's actually in the dungeon and everything.
The dungeon, somebody's basement.
Yeah, somebody's basement. Yeah. They're the basement.
The guest room.
The basement of the basement. So good. They send FT out with a note to get Chad's uncle, which is also so funny because he's like, Chad knows I hate tomatoes. And he reads, I know you hate tomatoes. Why would I trust him? I know you're going to say, why would you trust him?
Yeah.
And that part I thought was very well done. So Wilbur Finletter, Chad's uncle, and his crew go to save Chad and Matt. Now, question for Robbie, since you are the person who knows this franchise the best. The dude who's the disguised dude, didn't he die in the first movie?
Not that I remember. It's been a while since I've watched the first one.
So I thought there was a scene in the first one, because I was watching like best moments and stuff like that, that there was a scene where there's a guy who's the master of disguise who dressed up like a tomato, and then he went into the tomato group and he's eating a hot dog. He's like, hey, can you pass the ketchup? And then they realize he's not a tomato because he wants to eat ketchup.
Yeah. No, I don't think he dies.
No? Oh, man.
If he does, I'd have to watch it again, to be honest, but I didn't think he died.
Also, I guess, like everyone who quote unquote died in the first movie kind of makes an appearance in this movie, and that's the joke. It's like, oh, they didn't actually die, you know, they're back. So I guess he could have died in the first one, and that's just the funny part of it, is he survived because it's a sequel. So also, when they're in Professor Gangrene's house in the china closet,
I was just about to bring up the china closet.
That's the best. Opens the door and it's the Great Wall of China.
Great Wall of China.
That is
so stupid.
Classic. Right up there with Kreger's best jokes. Love it. So the professor plans to replace high-ranking officials with his tomato lookalikes that all look like Rambo for some reason.
It's so awesome. They're all shirtless, like hunks of meat. It's like, they don't talk.
Yeah, it's great. And then also, I forgot the moment where he's like, I can't get the eyes right. And then it's a Mr. Potato.
The eyes. It's always the eyes.
Oh, man. Classic.
Can we talk about, we forgot about Larry, the snake?
Larry the snake.
When she vacuums him by accident, and the snake makes the kicked puppy sound.
Yes, that's right.
You idiot! You hurt Larry. You'll never know what it is to be loved.
That is pretty. Yes, I totally forgot about that part. Oh man. So I wrote the pizza dough joke here again, so I want to reiterate. Pizza dough joke, really funny. So they go to break the president's aide, I think it was, from the first movie, out of prison to help with the plot of the movie. I don't know why they're trying to break him out at this point. You kind of just go with it. It's like a wave. You're writing it. It's fine. But what was so funny is at the end when they like capture him, he's like, how dare you put me back in this movie with only 2 lines?
Yes, I was a main character in the first one.
So good. So funny. And then Tara almost gets killed in a gas chamber, but doesn't, because she's not human. So the gas doesn't kill her, but the gas makes her permanently human.
Yes. Reverses the transformation.
Yeah, logic there works perfectly. It's all good.
100%.
Yeah, but then she also still has the like tomato eye wink at the end of the movie.
She's like,
so she's not really
she's just at least not affected by music anymore. Who knows?
It's like the end question mark dripping words, you know.
They're like, how many ends can we leave loose to make another one of these?
One. And then we find out FT lives at the end. He jumps on a grenade for everyone, but he's good. FT was actually adorable. I would buy an FT doll.
FT was so cute.
Yeah, I would buy an FT doll.
So those props, like, you know how at the end of the movie, like Lauren said, they're, you know, selling FT dolls. Those props must exist somewhere still, right?
Oh, they had like 100 of them.
I want those. I want one of those. I've never seen
After
one
watching
online.
this, I wanted one too.
I'm so surprised they don't make that plush doll already.
I have a Return of the Killer Tomatoes like search, say like a notification search from my email and on eBay.
Of course you do.
So when anybody posts anything for sale, I get an email about it, but and I've never seen them.
What if they posted? What things have you seen?
It's mostly like DVDs
okay.
and the toys for the original cartoon are really kind of rare and expensive, but I'm not dropping kind of money on that. But yeah, nothing.
Keep that in
no
mind at
FT
yard
dolls.
sales, folks.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You could get some good money for those toys, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So at the end, we get a post-credit scene with carrots.
Oh yeah,
the carrots.
I forgot about the carrots.
So the carrots show up and they gun down the game show people, and then they make like a pun or something. I forget what they say.
Yeah, I don't remember either. But they have like squeaky voices with guns.
It was pretty ridiculous. All right, so I want to tell you guys some fun facts about this movie, which again, Robbie might already know.
Might know.
But we'll see here.
I was searching all day long for fun facts about this movie. So if you found some.
Oh, I found some.
I'm so excited.
I dug to the lowest, seediest parts of the dark web to find.
Watch your mouth.
to find these fun facts. All right. So there's a guy named Gary Condit, who's in the pizzeria at the beginning of the movie. He was a former California congressman from the 80s to the early 2000s. Now, what's interesting about this guy is he's infamous for having an affair with an intern who mysteriously disappeared in 2001, and she's never been found, and he's never been convicted of anything, but he lost his position because of it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Wow,
Yes.
that's
That's so weird. But anyway,
yeah, I did not know that.
The credits in this movie display in the opposite order than in a standard movie, where smaller contributors such as the stagehands and supporting crew are the first listed.
Yes.
So that's pretty funny.
That's cool.
Yeah, I like that. It's always good. And then my final one, I only had 3 here, is Costa Dillon, who plays several characters, is credited as C.J. Clark Dillon for the first... Oh, okay. So... Costa Dillon is a guy who plays multiple characters in this movie. And he first is credited as C.J. Clark Dillon. Then when he shows up for another character, it says, and then Dillon again. And then by the end, it goes, guess who? And then like the name. So it's kind of, it's you son of a Dillon. It's kind of funny that that they have that in the credits and everything. But yeah, that's Return of the Killer Tomatoes. Now, was there anything that you guys wanted to talk about this movie that I didn't cover? I wanted to get rid of all of our regular segments that I do for the show so people can know what's going on with that, and then we can kind of just like free form it now.
So there's one part where I believe Chad and Tara are in like the grocery store and they're talking to each other quietly about the tomatoes that they just saw, like the drug dealer, but he's dealing tomatoes instead of drugs.
Yes.
And there's this old woman that runs up and goes, Valerian root powder. And they go, what? Valerian root powder. And for the longest time when I was a kid, I didn't think that was real.
Yeah.
Valerian root powder is a very real thing.
Well,
what is it?
I don't remember.
Here's the thing. The joke about it is that store they filmed in was a health food store in San Diego. And I think the joke was they had a bottle of Valerian root powder and no one knew what it was. So like, what if we're just like Valerian root powder? Because it's a legitimate store.
I used to like scream that.
Yeah.
I used to scream that at people when I was younger.
That's so funny.
Valerian root
Of course
powder. Like
you did.
You know what? We also forgot to mention that was so random was that mime that kept following them through the montage.
Yeah. The
Jordan.
love scene montage.
Jordan. I have one list of notes, and it is 815 international dishes, 637 sex acts, all popular home appliances, and that mime. Those are the only notes that I wrote down for this whole movie.
Those are great. Those are
It's
all
so
the notes you
memorable.
need to see how wonderful this movie is.
That mime, I wanted to punch him in the face so hard.
Chad did.
Yeah, good. I was so glad when he did. He should have done it sooner.
I love when he's like on the beach too, and the mime just shows.
Although I did really like Chad's bathing suit. That's all.
I
mean,
like
her bathing
Tara's.
suit is great,
I was gonna say Tara's is much better.
Yeah, you're right.
And then, oh man, I just thought of one other thing, and then it went out of my brain. So you know what? Gonna
well, bye.
There you go.
That's okay. I'm gonna go through the game stage selection, and I'm gonna go through every single one. Stage 1. I don't remember that game at all.
You know what is? Do you have a Game Boy you can play that on, or?
Yeah,
okay,
I have 2 of them.
You should bust it out tonight and play that game. Patreon content for you guys. Robbie plays the Game Boy.
underneath a light because it's not backlit.
Yeah.
Most models.
Oh yeah, I forgot that the old school one is in. Even the Game Boy Color wasn't backlit. What were those people thinking? No, the joke I was remembering was when they're like, "Oh, the thing she could do with like 2 lawn chairs," or they named
a tuning fork.
Yeah,
Oh, and the tuning fork and like 6 milk cartons or something
yes,
like that.
That's so funny. I love it. I love it so much. So that I'm very happy. So there's times on this podcast where a movie comes up and I'm like, oh, this is a bummer, and it ends up being wonderful. Like when I had to rewatch 3 Ninjas, was delightful. This movie is right up there with it, where I thought it was going to be kind of a bummer of an episode, and it ends up being like, I'm so stoked on this movie.
Robbie, you steer me wrong with movies all the time.
Lauren, most of the movies we watch on our show, neither of us have seen. That's the problem.
Well, I haven't seen anything, so.
I mean, you guys covered Hollow Man. That's a pretty watched movie.
That was a good movie.
I liked Hollow Man.
Yeah, Hollow Man's
Yeah,
good.
I liked
The
Hollow Man,
Invisible
too.
Man just came on HBO Max, and I want to watch it.
The original Invisible Man?
No, the 2020 one with the lady from Us. The one came out at the beginning of the year.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. It was like right around when everything shut down, so no one saw it. So I'm like, I kind of want to watch
I haven't
this
seen it, but
and see what it is like compared to Hollow Man, because Hollow Man was kind of just the take on the Invisible Man from back in the day. So now it's all come full circle, so it'd be interesting to see.
And then you watch Hollow Man 2.
Oh, even Hollow Man 2, even hollower.
Yeah. Everybody's invisible. There's no actors.
Yeah. just a stationary camera.
Yeah.
It'd be the greatest thing ever. So, Lauren, would you recommend this movie to anyone?
Yes.
Okay, so you're like all in on it. You're like, I have no shame. I would tell people, watch this movie.
Well, like, I don't usually recommend movies to anyone because I have people don't ask me about movies because I don't watch them, and like my favorite movie is Grease. So like,
hey, my wife's favorite movie is Grease as well.
Grease is a good movie.
There's nothing wrong with Grease.
Oh my God, her and I should be best friends. Let her tell her to friend me on Facebook or something. I don't know. Don't do that. Okay.
Here's her OnlyFans.
I wouldn't like go out of my way to be like, you have to watch Return of the Killer Tomatoes. But if somebody were like, hey, should I watch this? I'd be like, yes, absolutely, you should.
For sure.
That's kind of where I stand.
For sure. I'm all for preaching the good word that this movie needs to be watched. So
I've been telling people for 20 years to watch this movie. And finally,
it took
finally we did, Robbie.
There's some credibility here.
I love it. So that's the movie. Guys, typically you like to talk about what you're drinking on your podcast. So what are you guys drinking this episode?
You want to go first, Robbie?
Yeah, I'm drinking Down East cider. Ooh. It's like an unfiltered hard cider, and it's not like your normal commercial hard cider where it's super sugary and almost clear. It's, I don't know, there's a little bit left, but it looks like regular cider. I mean, it has floaties in it. Look at that.
Oh, so I wouldn't like it.
Flakes.
I wouldn't like it.
Flavor Flakes.
That's pretty cool though.
Yep.
I've not been getting into the cider game much lately, but I have been craving legit apple cider with some whiskey in it. So I'm going to do that for the holiday season for sure.
Apple cider with vodka and some triple sec.
Ooh. Okay, I might go that route then.
It works.
That route.
It works. I used to steal that from my dad's liquor cabinet when I was a kid. That was like my...
When he was a youngster.
Yeah. All right, Lauren.
8 is a weird age.
Lauren, what are you drinking?
Tonight I am drinking Luxurious Tiles. It's a collaboration between Trillium and Bissell Brothers.
Trillium's huge breweries out here.
Yeah. So Trillium is in Massachusetts and Bissell Brothers is in Portland, Maine. And it's just like a rye, I don't know, it's like a rye IPA. A rye IPA with wildflower honey.
Ooh.
And I've been saving it in my fridge for a special occasion. And this is
there you go. I wouldn't be able to drink that this week because I'm doing vegan week this week. So can't have honey, unfortunately.
Oh, no. Well, honey is very controversial among the vegan community.
Controversial. I was debating about whether having an oats and honey granola bar the other day. I was like, if I'm all in, I'm all in. So,
yep. Replace any honey with maple syrup.
There you go.
Well, can't you have the wildflower honey, the whatever Clover
No,
honey?
if it comes from a bee, it comes from bees, dude. You
Can't
have
be
honey.
hurting them animals.
Yeah.
Well, after this, I didn't have time to grab it.
Robbie, that makes
I know,
sense.
right? People are like, "What are you doing?" After this, I'm gonna drink a pumpkin ale from New Holland Brewing Company.
Yeah.
So
New Holland's good.
yeah, we made some pumpkin chili last week with that beer, and I haven't actually.
Okay.
Yeah, right. It
going?
was so delicious, dude. Don't even get me started. But yeah, I haven't actually drank it without it being surrounded by meat. So I'm gonna drink that tonight.
I had pumpkin ramen the other week. It was delicious.
I think pumpkin anything is
Yeah.
great. It's time of year. You gotta love the pumpkin.
It had like pumpkin like flavoring, pumpkin seeds in it. So it was also a vegan dish.
There you go. I'd be able to eat it for the next 4 days.
I had burgers last night.
Yeah. Well,
from the local butcher shop down the street.
I will be having that on Sunday.
I love burgers. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I'm not gonna eat it. Do you guys? Maybe you don't have this. Have you heard of a place called Hat Creek? It's a burger place.
I didn't hear that. You cut out.
Hat
Sorry.
Creek.
Yeah.
Hat Creek.
No.
Never.
It's a chain out here.
Bugaboo Creek. We had that.
Yeah, it's a chain out here, but I didn't know how far. I never know how far things go. You know, if it reaches to where
you have Whataburger now.
Yeah, we do have Whataburger. It's okay. It's the most okayest burger I've ever had.
Right up there with In-N-Out. It's the same garbage.
Yeah, In-N-Out's pretty okayest burger too. I agree.
I'll take a Five Guys over either of those any day.
I'll take a Five Guys anywhere.
Five Guys is good. We like a place called The Habit, which is
Habit Burger is amazing.
Boom, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I think I
Never heard of
commented
it.
on that video on YouTube when you guys talked about it.
Habit Burger is the best burger ever, and I'm so sad they don't have them in Texas. It's only California and like one in Arizona.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, such a bummer. But that's not enough about burgers, because this isn't the burger podcast. This is the tomato podcast.
Tomatoes.
Which is something you can put on a burger unless you live
Not Robbie.
in the RTTKQUBTQA universe, or what is it?
The RTKTCU, the Return of the Killer Tomato Cinematic Universe.
There we go.
Jeez.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you being on. Do you want to talk up your podcast a little bit? Because we might have some new listeners who don't know who you are, but all of our loyal listeners definitely know who you guys are.
Yeah, we run a podcast called The Brew Interviews. It kind of centers around craft beer and alcohol, but we cover all sorts of subjects, just like Wreck My Podcast. You can find us same places you find Wreck My Podcast, and now on Amazon Music and Podcasts. So that's cool.
Ooh,
because we're crushing life.
that's a place.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
Yeah, it's a new thing.
Wow.
Yeah,
Right?
get hip with the
I gotta
kids,
get on
bro.
that. I gotta get on that, man.
Yeah.
What am I doing? Sitting over here thinking TikTok's still the new thing. Come on, it's all about.
The Wreck My Podcast TikTok. I don't want to watch that.
I wouldn't watch
no.
that either. No, I would let Cam be in charge of that, and I would never.
Yeah,
watch
that'd be a
it.
good idea.
Yeah, so go check out the Brew Interviews. You guys, you're not on YouTube, are you? You're just all audio, right?
We are.
Yeah,
you're
we're on
YouTube.
YouTube.
Okay, cool.
We don't have video, but we just post our
Cool.
like.
Yep.
So go check
podcast
out
episodes
literally
there.
anywhere then that you could find podcast, the Brew Interviews. Also go to their Patreon, give them a follow because they are super cool and need your support. And also, you guys are
Please.
sponsored by AdamandEve.com, which is super cool. So
Hell yeah.
I think that
Yeah, we are.
people just need to go listen to you just to listen to that amazing ad you guys made.
The best part about that is Robbie just gave me a bunch of lines to read with no context at all. He's like, read these lines like however you want and just send me a bunch of recordings of it. And then he just spliced them in.
You read it though like you know what he's saying, because you're even like, ranch dressing?
Well, some of them he was like, read it like a question.
Yeah.
Or like read it like I probably did like 5 takes of that and he just chose whatever one he
Well,
wanted.
it's the best ad I've ever heard, and it's that kind of content you give the people. So the Brew Interviews.
We're here for
Yes,
you.
I have 2 of your
You and
stickers.
sex
I have 2 of
toys.
your stickers on my computer. That's how much I like your show. So
God. Thank God.
Stop it.
all right, guys. Well, I appreciate you being here. I also appreciate our listeners for listening, because I always appreciate them listening to my annoying voice. And we will be back with the regular, less important crew next week for Hocus Pocus. We're covering for Halloween. Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god, that's one of my favorite movies. I'm so
Yeah,
excited.
so it's going to be a lot of fun. I haven't watched it in years, so it's going to be interesting.
Bette Midler is like my favorite.
Is she Winifred?
She absolutely
Okay,
is.
there you go. Then I know one thing. right, guys.
I've also walked by that house, the big white house. Okay, I'm sorry. We can go. Let's do this.
All right, guys. Thanks for being here. We'll talk to y'all next week.
Bye.
Clip. What's the clip called for YouTube?
Like poetry in motion, like a perfect wave. Gonna ride with the wind, spend the money I save. For the summer's here, and I got nothing to do but get my rocks off. When those big rusted tomatoes go to the beach.
Hold it right there. Where do you think you're going? My son and a lot of other people have worked hard on this movie. You sit right there and watch these credits.
And take the tops off. Those California girls, I just love the best. They got an even tan all over their chests. I'll be California dreaming till the sun goes down. I get around, get around, I get around. Those southern girls have me hypnotized. They got a curious way of talking and I like their eyes. But those New York girls, you gotta see them driving with their tops down. Those big breasted girls go to the beach and take their tops off. Those big breasted girls go to the...
There will be no movie tomorrow.
See you in France.